Hello and welcome to part 26 of the Digital DJ Tips Learn to DJ free email course. If you're watching this video on YouTube and you've just kind of stumbled across it, the course is free and you can sign up for it right away at digitaldjtips.com/join. It comes in 50 parts and this is part 26 and we're talking about getting the motivation for DJing, how to get and stay motivated. So this is really where the rubber hits the road. You know, we can spend all the time we have talking about the gear and talking about the software and where you want to go with this and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes down to it, you're going to be the one who's starting practicing your DJing. You're going to be the one who has to put those hours in. 10,000 hours to get good is one estimate of how long it takes to get good at anything. So really this is about the intensely practical matters of DJing, how to get that practice in and how to make sure that you stay motivated and that you get something out of it and you get to the point where you're good enough to play live, because of course that's what it's all about. And I think that's a good place to start, because I think the best way to stay motivated DJing is to have a goal, to set yourself a goal. Even if it's just playing your sister's 18th birthday party or playing to your mates next Saturday or whatever, set yourself a goal. It could be doing a mixtape and uploading it to Mixcloud, doesn't matter. But if you set that goal, then you're far more likely to put the practice in to get there. Now, I don't know about you, I don't know if you do any exercising or anything like that, but I go running. I cannot run unless I am training for a race, because otherwise all kinds of excuses pop into my head when it's a bit wet outside or when I've had a long day or whatever. But as soon as there's a deadline in the diary, everything changes. So that's my number one point about motivation. Set yourself goals, and as soon as you've achieved one of them, set the next one. And with DJing, it's going to be gigs. So, second point is to rehearse, practice little and often. There's no point kidding yourself that you're going to have an 8-hour practice on a Sunday. Okay, that's cool. If you can do that, that's cool. But don't do it instead of practicing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or as many of those days as you can as well. And the reason for that is that I believe that what really happens when you're practicing is you're filling your brain up with ideas, you're filling your brain up with stuff, really. And then when you're not practicing, that's when it all sinks in. It's a bit like they say that, you know, your body does its repairing and it's growing when you're asleep. Your daytimes are when one thing happens, but your sleepy times, your night times, are when another thing kicks in. Now, if you're practicing regularly, that means you've got regular, small amounts of time when you're not actually practicing, and that's when things will occur to you. You know, they say that executives get all their ideas on the golf course instead of at work, and it's exactly the same thing. You're not going to get your big ideas when you're actually DJing. You might, of course, come up with things, but a lot of the ideas are going to happen when you're not doing it. So practice little and often. I also believe that after like 40 minutes or an hour, you do start to drift, whether you like it or not. The third point I'd like to make about keeping motivated is do whatever it takes to kid yourself that to make it easy for yourself to begin your DJing session. So, you know, the time you're likely to jack in a DJing session is before you've even begun. It's before you've got up out of your chair and walked over to your gear. So anything you can do that will make it easier to start DJing is going to help you to get going and to not make excuses. So whether that means having your gear permanently set up under a cover or something, somewhere you can easily get to it, or whether it means building it into your routine so that you always do it at the same time every day, and then you're used to it and actually it's easier to do it than not do it, that's up to you. But I think it's very important to find ways to kid yourself to get going, find ways to trick yourself into starting, because once you've got that first tune on, once you've got your laptop plugged in and you're booted up and the music's playing, it gets a lot easier. Even if you're not in the mood for it, it gets a lot easier. Now again, I'll go back to going running. The trick with going running is to put your running gear on, is to put your tracksuit on. So when you get up in the morning, if you're going to go for a run that day, put your tracksuit on straight away, and then it kind of just puts you in the mood for it. Or tell yourself, okay, I'm not going to go running today, I'm going to go walking instead, and go out, start walking, and in the end you go, you know what, I think I'm going to start running now. You know, so that's how to trick yourself in that area. With DJing, you can trick yourself once you've started playing by saying, okay, I'm not going to do a mix today. I don't feel like doing a mix. I'm just going to listen to some new tunes. I'm just going to go online to a service and listen around. And then you find yourself, when you're there, when everything's set up, you think, you know what, I'll just have a little mix. You know, so find ways to kid yourself to start playing, because it's really important, that first tune or two, and then you're off into your hour or whatever. And my final tip, I suppose, is something I call video game syndrome. Now this really applies to when you're practicing mixing itself. So when you're practicing getting from one record to the next record, to the next record, to the next record. And video game syndrome, I'm sure you've done this too, is when you start, say it's a game that you're used to playing on your video games console, and you start playing and you mess up on the first round, or you mess up in the first minute. So instead of carrying on and using up all your lives and carrying on and finishing, you just say, oh, sod this, and you reset it and you start again. You try and have a better first 10 minutes or a better first round than you did the one you just abandoned. Now, I don't know if you have experienced this too, but sometimes it's when you lose a life in the first 30 seconds, you go on and the next two lives, you have the best round ever, you get the high score. Now, if you hadn't carried on, you'd never have got that high score, and it's exactly the same in mixing. If you mess up your first mix or two, try not to just, you know, throw the towel in and get annoyed. Just carry on mixing. If you were DJing live, you'd have no choice, you'd have to carry on mixing. So don't throw the towel in if you feel it's not going right or you feel like you're messing up. It's really easy to do that. Exactly the same as with video games. But you're the one who loses in the end, because in real life, you ain't gonna have the chance to do that. Playing in front of an audience, you're not gonna have a chance to do that. So taking a deep breath and staying calm and carrying on is going to help you. And actually next week we're going to talk more about that. Next week we're going to move into why mixing really isn't very important, and why actually it's other things that you should be concentrating on when you're practicing. But that's for next week. I hope I've fired you up a bit and given you a bit more impetus to keep your spirits high and to keep yourself highly motivated for DJing. Just remember, the more hours practice you can put in, the better you're going to get and the quicker it's going to happen for you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next tutorial.